The topic I wanted to talk about was something that doesn't get a lot of visibility because it's hard to find a lot of information from one source, but instead there's lots of information from other sources, so bringing it all together. So the topic I wanted to cover was basically the Middle East internet economy. I do want to talk about infrastructure because we pretty much know it's all the same. Deploying fibers in the home and LTE, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so let's start with our preconceptions of what the Middle East is like. Well, ME is the Middle East, I just call it ME, just to make it good. So when we think of the Middle East, it's not the first place we think of in terms of internet economy. We think of things like oil and demonstrations and whatnot. But the Middle East is like any other place in the world. People like to communicate. And it shows because this chart here shows broadband subscribers and internet users. Now, so when I say IE, it means internet economy. Now, by a leading indicator, it means to develop the internet economy, you first have to have people online. And so to do that, they have to have some subscriptions. So as you can see here, this is a selection of countries that shows broadband penetration. Now, I use broadband rather than internet because having dial-up to access internet economy applications is not as interesting as doing on broadband. So people are more likely to be engaged if they have broadband access. So as you can see, countries like Qatar, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, Bahrain, so these tend to be the wealthier countries. With the exception of Israel, the others are part of the what's called the GCC, the Gulf.
Gulf side.
Yeah, sorry. And
Gulf countries
corporations.
Yeah.
So they're all pretty wealthy because of oil, and so they have a lot of money to splash around, which is why they invest a lot. And as you can see, what's interesting here, mobile broadband, which is the lighter color, outstrips fixed broadband. So what happened there is that what happened in the Middle East is that the incumbent fixed line operator still tends to be a monopoly provider, so there's not much competition happening in the fixed broadband space. Whereas in the mobile market, you tend to have 3 or 4 mobile network operators competing fiercely with each other. So penetration levels have pretty much reached saturation point, and so the next revenue growth phase is mobile broadband, which is why mobile broadband is now being pushed out. Which is a good thing because when everyone has mobile broadband in their pocket, it's a lot easier and a lot more enticing to access services online. So the Middle East would be a good place for internet economy services to develop. When we talk about mobile broadband, I wanted to just highlight that the Middle East is at the front run. It's a front runner when it comes to the technology adaptation. These are operators in the Middle East that have launched LTE networks just this year or late last year. So you've got Viva, which is part of Saudi Telecom. They've launched in Bahrain, Kuwait. You have Qatar's incumbent, QTEL, they've launched an LTE network. The Zain has launched in Saudi Arabia. STC in Saudi Arabia again, and Mobility in Saudi Arabia. So all 3 of Saudi Arabia's mobile network operators have launched LTE networks. That just shows you the level of competition that's going on there. And then in the UAE, you've got both of the mobile network operators have launched LTE as well. So there's only 2 in UAE. So okay. This slide here demonstrates one of the problems that internet users in the Middle East region faced, particularly those who are Arabic, and that problem was that Arabic content was lacking. So it was a classic chicken and egg problem. What will come first? In this case, it was the demand. So we have all the subscribers now online, and only now is the content beginning to catch up. Now, at the top left-hand side, you can see it says there Yahoo Maktub. The reason why I put that there was because Maktub was one of the Middle East's leading internet portals, founded in 2000, And it holds special significance because in 2008 it was acquired by Yahoo, which demonstrated in the Middle East that you can make money from internet content. So that's why in the Middle East, that two name, it holds a lot of weight because it tells investors that you can make money here in the Middle East in content. And of course we have Twitter and Facebook. Facebook made Arabic part of their site in 2009, and Twitter introduced Arabic in 2012. And as you can see, Facebook penetration is pretty high, and it lags down to other countries. And Twitter, same case, not as high as Facebook, but as you can see, it is being used. So I just put these in to show that there is now Arabic content being generated. However, there's still not enough being generated, as you can see from these headlines here.
Oh,
Yes?
when you talk about Arabic content, are you talking about content in the language so people can
Yes,
read
I can
it,
read
or
it.
content that's suitable for publishing?
Both.
Because there's restrictions, isn't there, on what they can show?
That is true. There is the restrictions and censorship. Tends to be more the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, so before, for example, before Facebook and Twitter introduced Arabic, all the people would have to converse in English online,
Okay, and that's
which would limit the audience,
right. Okay.
because not everyone can speak English there, which is fair enough.
Okay.
So even now there are initiatives being rolled out to try and increase the amount of Arabic content. It's both by commercial players as well as even regulators. ICT Qatar, they are the regulator in Qatar, so they recognise that Arabic content needs to be brought to the fore, and so they are pushing for that. And heading back to my point earlier about mobile broadband, most people now have mobile broadband connections rather than fixed broadband. So that's why there's this last heading here. If the demand for content extends to mobile and applications. So,
Because at the Arab Summit that I was earlier this year, this Arabic content is high-level government stuff. The governments in the Arab countries, are now all, developing policies in order to increase Arab content. And a country like Qatar would like to, for example, establish themselves as a content hub with data centers and things like that. So around the Arab content, you also get an Arab economy, which is very interesting to. It's slow, as Paul is saying, but it is happening.
yeah. So the demand is now there, and so the supply will catch up. So yeah, but you are right. Qatar is in the annual reports they have mentioned data centers and content.
Yeah.
That's where it's
Yeah.
going to focus. So this demand for content and this potential opportunity for commerce has spawned basically the Middle East equivalent to Silicon Valley. So you may not, you think of the Middle East and you think of Silicon Valley, and they're two totally different things. But because of now the opportunities that are there in the Middle East and the subtleties of the market of that region, means that a lot of startups have now developed in Jordan. Now, why Jordan, you guys might think? Because Jordan is not the richest country in the Middle East. Doesn't have the most money, doesn't have the highest broadband penetration. But it's because of policy. So what happened in 2004, Jordan's king, who is relatively young, and I guess more technology grounded, realized that to develop his country, he needed to increase the amount of usage of IT in his country. So he introduced all these policies that incorporated IT curriculum in the education system. He introduced policies to increase PC penetration, and basically also policies were made to make it easier for companies to start up. So Jordan has one of the lowest startup costs in the Middle East. So it's very easy. So if you're a startup and you don't have much cash, then Jordan will be a good place to to do your thing. So that's why a lot of the entrepreneurs, they went to Jordan because it had the right environment, and now because it was one of the first, it's just gained momentum. And now Jordan is the place to be if you're starting up a new internet economy company in the Middle East. Now a lot of these people who do start up in Jordan, they tend to be people who came from the Silicon Valley, so they have experience of doing these type of things. And their ethnic background, like they tend to be Arabic or grew up in the area, so they also know this market as well, which is why they've come here. And when they've come to Jordan to bring these startups, they realise that that it's not quite like Silicon Valley. So they've brought some of the ways of working with them. So for example, the networking opportunities that are prevalent in Silicon Valley, they now have launched that in Jordan as well. And the seed funds that you see in Silicon Valley, the venture capitals, they've now launched that in Jordan as well. Any questions? I think I'm going to be too fast here. I drank too much coffee. I shouldn't have. So I wanted to just highlight two examples of this internet economy in the Middle East. It's a commercial company, so it's not like e-health or e-government, but it's an e-commerce. Why is that? Because it's always the entrepreneurs who are the first in, because they want to make money. So this one is called Marketbit. It's a startup that was created in Jordan in November 2010, only November 2010, and already it's on track to make $100 million in revenue or in orders by the end of this year.
Wow.
Yes. So what they are basically a private shopping community. So to get in, you have to receive an invitation from a member. So kind of that's an exclusivity type of vibe. And their biggest customers by country are UAE and Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia deserves particular mention because they are very popular in Saudi Arabia among the women. Now, you might wonder why the women in Saudi Arabia? Because for women in Saudi Arabia, it's just to leave the home, they have to have a male guardian with them. And they can't drive, so they can't go to the war by themselves. It's a lot of hassle. It's a lot easier just to do it online. So women in Saudi Arabia, they are a big online market because unfortunately the women are stuck at home. So,
Makes sense, yeah.
Yes. So that's one of the subtleties of the market in this region.
Are they expat buyers or are they local buyers?
Oh, the local buyers, because that's a funny thing. You might think women in Saudi Arabia don't. Yeah.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just doing private. I don't know.
Yeah, but under their black dress, they are normally dressed.
That's right. Yeah, you read about
normally.
Different strong. No, you read about these things where the women they all get together and they can take off their gowns and they all dress like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So funny thing, but that's the way it is. So that's Marketbit. And this is another one called Trendyol. This one was launched in Turkey. So not Jordan, but it was in Turkey. And this one deserves particular mention because one of their investors was a Silicon Valley fund that had also invested in Netscape, AOL, Amazon, Citrix, Compaq. So it shows that international investors, and particularly the big names in Silicon Valley, they can see what's happening in the Middle East and they can see the opportunities that are there. So they are coming in. So that's why I just put this one in. And they have, I think it was 5 or 6 million users with an average age of 26. So very young audience. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention. In the Middle East in general, the average age is very low. It's low. I think it was just under 30. That's the average age. So it's a young region as opposed to Western Europe or Western Canada. So, but the Middle East, it's not like other countries. There are differences. One of them is we've talked about the population, low age, We talked about the market, women in Saudi Arabia. Another one when it comes to e-commerce is logistical challenges. So the Middle East is comprised of a number of countries. And so when it comes to fulfilling orders, a lot of the time you get held up by taxes or whatnot. The transition doesn't seem, from what I gather, it's not as smooth as what it is in, say, in Europe, where you have unified policies to promote the free transfer of goods across borders. It's not like that in the Middle East. And so that's one of the big issues that a lot of these e-commerce companies have had. And so what they're doing is they're trying to work with the regulators and the customs to try and get these things sorted. So in the future it will be a lot smoother. And the second one, Middle East. Cash on delivery. Now, when we think of e-commerce, and from our own experience, we think of, we buy it, or we use PayPal, or we put in our credit card. As you can see from this chart here, the Middle East, only less than 25% of transactions are paid for by credit card, by electronic payments. So the remainder is paid when they receive the shipment at their door. They pay cash to the courier. Yeah, I had to double check that, I didn't quite believe it. Yeah, so...
That makes sense, yeah.
When you think about it, it's okay. Now, you might wonder why it's like that. Well, first thing is credit card penetration. Not everyone has a credit card like we do here. And secondly, a lot of these people who are purchasing online who do have credit cards, they are doing it for the first time, and so there's that trust issue, which is natural when we first start buying online. But what these e-commerce companies like Marketplace are realizing is that when their customers buy the first time, they do cash on delivery, but the second time, because they're more confident, they use their credit cards. So moving forward, this service margin will probably increase. But that's one thing to note. Cash on delivery is a big part of the Middle Eastern market. So yeah, I think that's about it. Do you have any questions? So I just wanted to highlight what's happening in the Middle East and some of the success stories that are currently there, and some of the key differences between here and there.